Hey everyone, welcome to Module 13. Module 13, we're going to be covering culture, religion, and ethnicity. So we're really kind of diving into how different cultures, different religions, different ethnicities can really have an impact on people's personality and their development. So we're kind of think of a different way that we could be formed from our differences in culture, religion, and ethnicity. And I think sometimes that this is an obvious concept, but I think that when we really kind of break down the differences in language or religion or just traditions that we have, how big of an impact that really can have on people's personalities. So I'm going to go ahead and click into Module 13. Go over your learning objectives, of course. And then the videos that I have in here, one of them covers how culture affects your personality. So you might want to think, what type of culture you come from. Is your culture something that kind of defines you? Is it something that you don't really think about because maybe you don't really do anything different from day to day, and you're not that culturally aware in terms of maybe you don't have any traditions or religion that you follow. But this is kind of going to give you some different aspects and examples of how culture and personality can kind of go hand in hand, and how that can really be dependent of how you grew up and now how you formed in your own personality. So the second video that I have is one of the most interesting videos that I ever show to students. I don't show this to all classes, I refer to it, but this is the one class that I always get to actually show my students. And if you can, I know it's 14 minutes long and everyone's like, oh, 14 minutes is so long. If you do take the time to look over the whole video though, I don't think that you'll be sad that you wasted 14 minutes, because it is a really interesting 14 minutes. So this woman talks about language, and there's about 7,000 different languages spoken, which is insane when you think about how many different languages or dialects that there are. And all of those different languages can have an impact of how we communicate and how we view different situations. And the best one that I believe that she brings up, if you go to about 9 minutes into this video, even if you just want to watch this part of the video, I highly recommend that you do. She talks about if we were, as American speaking, or English speaking, I should say, as Americans, were to say, I broke my arm, how that connotation would be incredibly different in different, speaking cultures, where you wouldn't say I broke my arm unless you were a lunatic, she says, because that would imply that you physically went out and broke your arm, as opposed to my arm was broken, or I accidentally broke my arm while driving my bike or something like that. So the way that we form sentences and kind of display that information to other people really does have an impact of how we communicate, and then how we view kind of the world and our experiences. So again, I would really highly recommend you watching this video, or at least watching this part where she kind of talks about that, because it does make you kind of think about things a little bit differently. All right, for your assignments, you're going to have your discussion question and then your chapter 13 quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and click into your discussion. For your discussion, you're going to, of course, have your references, but I want you guys to kind of reflect about how you were raised and what your culture was. And then when or why should parents consciously raise their children to be part of an ethnic or a cultural group? Or when should they try to minimize differences or even erase cultural differences? And I think that this is something that we really do want to kind of think about, especially now, because everyone is more culturally aware, and we're trying to kind of blend or merge the gap between different people and have everything very, very equal, which is great. But we don't want to erase people in terms of how we see them, because differences are good. And we can learn from differences. And just because we're different doesn't mean that we can't be equal. So I think we want to kind of think about that. And I'm interested to see what you guys say. And the second thing is, can language really reflect personality? So I kind of already said that a little bit, but that video will definitely give you some more examples. So examine a language that you have studied or that you speak. Could you use active versus passive statements? I know I always use very passive statements in my writing, which you're not supposed to. Maybe highly technical terms versus breezy terms. So again, maybe you're writing a paper or you're texting with a friend, you're going to have more breezy terms than you are technical ones probably. Gender-specific nouns. So some languages like Spanish have gender-specific related nouns and words, and how you conjugate that's going to be gender-specific. How is that going to impact, like right now with the English language, that would be a huge problem because everything is so gender non-specific. That could be accents or even like vulgar slang. And that's all going to be relating to people's personalities. So kind of think about these different examples and maybe write a few examples of your own. And then the last thing is, how has your own culture, religion, ethnicity, and language impacted your own personality? And maybe if you can't think of this right off the top of your head, kind of reflect a little bit, think about that, and then come back to it. Because I think that even if we don't have very specific examples, we can kind of even use that as a justification. All right. All right, so that's going to be your chapter 13 discussion. And then again, you're going to have your quiz. So those are the two things that are going to be due this week. I hope you guys enjoy your the different videos, and I will see you guys in module 14.